All right, here's our next video. We are on J9, which is order of operations. And I think everybody's heard of order of operations before. You may have learned it as PEMDAS. You may have learned it as, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. But what it is it gives us a listing for the different steps that we do in order to simplify just a collection of different operations, right? So our P stands for parentheses, and really what parentheses is representing is any grouping symbols, okay? So it may be parentheses, but it could be something else. It could be parentheses, it could be brackets, it could be curly braces, it could be absolute value, it could be square root, it could be cube root, okay? Anything that we are able to collect several terms within kind of falls into this parentheses level of order of operation, okay? E stands for exponent. M and D stands for multiplication and division. And A and S stands for addition and subtraction. Okay. Now, one thing I will note with the M and D and the A and S is there are two things on this level. Okay. Even though we learned it as PEMDAS or my dear Aunt Sally, right? It doesn't mean that multiplication comes before division, and it doesn't mean that addition always comes before subtraction. When you come into contact with multiplication and division, because they're on that same level, we're going to work them from left to right. Okay. So both of these we're going to work from left to right, okay? So if you get down to where you have something plus something minus something minus something plus something, don't go through and do all the addition first and then go back and subtract, okay? Do it in the order that you see it from left to right, all right? Let's go ahead and look at a few. First one, order of operation tells us to do parentheses or grouping symbols first, so I'm going to simplify inside. 5 minus 3 is 2. So now I have 8 times 2 to the third power minus 20. So now I have a multiplication, an exponent, and a subtraction. Order of operation tells me to do my exponent next. So I'm going to do my 2 cubed. So this gives me 8 times 2 cubed is 8 minus 20. And now I have a multiplication and a subtraction. Multiplication comes first. So I'm going to do 64 minus 20. And then I just do the subtraction. So I get 44. Okay, not too bad maybe. All right, this middle one, notice I have grouping symbols inside of grouping symbols. So we have more than one grouping. If they're outside of each other, we can do them on the same step. But if they're inside of one another, then we go to the innermost grouping symbol, and then we start working our way out. Okay, so the innermost would be this 8 minus 5. So I still have my 10, I still have my bracket, 7 minus 4, and then 8 minus 5 is 3. And now I want to go ahead and keep working. Now that that innermost grouping symbol is over, now I'm focused on my brackets. So inside of my brackets, I have a subtraction and I have a multiplication. We do multiplication first before subtraction. So we still have our 10, we still have our 7, negative 4 and 3 gives us a negative 12. And then we're still working on that same grouping within those brackets. So we're going to do 7 minus 12 next. So we have 10 times negative 5, and 10 times negative 5 is negative 50. Okay? All right, I want to show you two more. This one, normally we would deal a lot with exponents and just simplifying them, right? But what I noticed right away is that every single base here is a 3. So we can actually use our exponent rules that we just had in the last section to simplify this without having to multiply it all out and figure out these huge ridiculous numbers like 3 to the 12th is something massive, right? So I'm going to use my exponent rules, which says if I'm multiplying two bases with the same, if I'm multiplying two bases that are the same, I can just combine the exponents. And notice I have a multiplication, a division, and a multiplication. Multiplication and division are on that same level, so I'm just going to work it from left to right. So this is the first one that I do is this multiplication. So this is going to give me 3 to the 12 minus 4, which is 8. divided by 3 to the third times 3 to the negative 1. Okay, so now I want to look at the next one. The next one is my division, because again, I'm just going left to right. So when I divide, I don't normally look at it like this, right? Division means this guy's going to go in the denominator, right? So I'm just going to write it like that to help us visualize it. This is like 3 to the 8th divided by 3 to the 3rd, right? And then I still have this guy times 3 to the negative 1. So if I write it like this, I really want to be able to collect all of those 3's in the same place, either the numerator or the denominator. Now, if I move it down to the denominator, that's going to make it a little bit difficult because this guy's in the numerator, and I eventually want to be able to combine with this one. So on problems like this, I'm going to just always move it up so that we keep it all the 3's in the top. Okay, so if I move that one up, it's going to become 3 to the negative 3, right? So I will be able to combine the 8 that I have up here with this negative 3 exponent that I'm moving up. So 3 to the 8 minus 3 is going to give me 3 to the 5th power, and then I still have this times 3 to the negative 1 out to the side, right? And so now I can combine these guys, which is going to give me 3 to the 4th. And now that's something really easy to go ahead and just multiply out. 3 to the 4th is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which gives me 81. Okay? Let me show you one more and then I'll let y'all work on some. So this last one is a rational expression. So I'm going to still work it one step at a time, but I'm going to do one step on top and one step on bottom. Okay? So on top, the first thing I need to be working is my grouping symbol. So I'm going to do my 8 minus 6 on top, and on bottom, I do exponents before I do addition. So I'm going to simplify this guy and this guy. All right? So on top, I'm going to have 10 divided by, when I do 8 minus 6, that gives me 2, plus 9 times 4, all over. On bottom, 2 to the 5th is 32, and 9 squared, just kidding, 3 squared gives me 9. Okay, so I keep going. Here are 10, I have a division, I have an addition, and I have a multiplication. Okay, division and multiplication are what comes next, and since they're on the same level, I do it in order from left to right. So I'm going to do this one first. Okay, so 10 divided by 2 gives me 5, plus 9 times 4. On bottom, I can go ahead and just add 32 and 9, which gives me 41. On top, addition or multiplication. Multiplication comes first, so I'm going to do that next. So I get 5 plus 36 all over 41, and 5 plus 36 is 41, so I end up with 41 over 41, and any number over itself is 1. Okay? All right, so on the next page, there are some for you guys to try. There are 3. Once you've done those and you're ready to be checked, or if you get stuck, go ahead and unpause the video and we'll talk through them, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and go over them. On the first one, what I do is grouping symbols. So I need to take care of this whole grouping before I can multiply that 5. Okay, so within this whole grouping, the thing that I do first is exponents. So I'm going to do the 3 squared first and turn that into a 9. Okay, so now I have subtraction, multiplication, addition, multiplication, and subtraction. So we do multiplication next. So I'm going to go ahead and do the 8 times the 9 and the 4 times the 6, because those are the 2 multiplications I have. So I have 3 minus 72 plus 24, which is what I get when I multiply 4 and 6, minus 2. So I still need to keep going in here. Addition and subtraction are on the same level, so I do it from left to right. So 3 minus 72 gives me negative 69, and then negative 69 plus the 24 gives me negative 45, and then I do the negative 45 minus 2, which gives me negative 47. And now that I have that entire grouping symbol simplified down to one number, now I can go ahead and multiply the 5 on the outside, which gives me negative 235. Okay? Looking at number 2, this is one where we're simplifying using exponent rules. We have multiplication and divisions. Those are all on the same level, so we do it left to right. So I'm going to start with 2 to the 6 times 2 to the negative 3. That gives me 2 cubed. Okay, and then I just brought down my division of 2 to the 10th and division of 2 to the negative 8th. This one, my division, I'm going to go ahead and write it as a fraction just to help me visualize. So I have 2 cubed over 2 to the 10th. And then again, I brought down this 2 to the 8th. Okay. Now, here, I would normally bring my 2 cubed down because that's where my exponents would be left positive. But that makes it a little bit harder to combine with this next step. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my 10 up. So it's positive on the bottom. So when I bring that 10 up, it's going to give me a negative 10 exponent to combine with the 3 that's already up there. Okay, so 3 minus 10 is going to leave me with a negative 7. So I have 2 to the negative 7, and now I'm going to divide it by that last value, which was this 2 to the negative 8 that I've brought all the way down. All right, again, I'm going to write it as a fraction just to help me visualize it. So this means 2 to the negative 7 is on top, 2 to the negative 8 is on bottom, and in order to combine them, I'm going to move this bottom one up. So since it's negative 8 on the bottom, when I bring it up to combine, it's going to become positive 8. And then 2 to the negative 7 plus 8 leaves me with 2 to the first power, which is just 2. Okay. Again, if you need to go through that slower, feel free to pause the video, process it. Okay. And then we're going to look at number 3. All right. So number 3 is a rational expression. So on the top, the first thing I'm going to do is the parentheses, which gives me 2. After the parentheses, I need to do this exponent, which gives me 4. Then I do the multiplication. So notice I have a multiplication here, a multiplication here, and a multiplication here. So I went ahead and did all 3 of those in one step. So 16, negative 12, and 16 is what I should get. And then I combine these one step at a time. So 16 minus 12 is 4, plus the other 16 gives me 20. So on top, I get 20. When I look at the denominator, I have 3 to the first power, which is just 3, right? And then I have 19 to the 0 power, and anything to the 0 power is 1. So 3 plus 1 gives me 4. So when I bring that 4 down into the denominator of the 20 that I got on top, 20 divided by 4 leaves me with a nice even 5. Okay. All right. So that is the end of the J9 order of operations section. So you should now be able to complete that one on your homework as well. If you have questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.